South Atlantic Bank is anchored deep in the community. Let's meet its president, Scott Plyler, coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at Stevens Floor Covering Center in Myrtle Beach on the frontage road between the Sun News and Ashley Furniture off of Highway 17 bypass. We're focused on forming a bank, and we're visiting with Scott Plyler, the president of South Atlantic Bank, a newly formed community bank. Very exciting to get you in early on a Friday morning.
Thank you for having me.
A lot going on with South Atlantic Bank.
That's correct.
You've got to be fired up.
We are. We're very excited.
Yeah,
very excited.
big. It was just November of this past year.
That's correct. November 07 we opened. We've been open about 8 months.
Wow. And of course, even more exciting, next month, breaking ground.
That's correct. Breaking ground on our first branch in Murrells Inlet. We're very excited about that. And we're building a 2-story, 10,000 square foot building, and we'll occupy the bottom floor and lease out the top floor.
That is tremendous, and
very
a
exciting.
Magnificent location there in Murrells Inlet, right on the northern end.
That's
a
correct.
little north of Inlet Square Mall.
That's correct. We're going to be on the corner of TPC Boulevard and Highway 17 bypass.
Right.
And so we feel like that's going to be a great location for us for visibility on the bypass and all the residential and now commercial growth back on TPC and Highway 707. So we're really excited about
that.
That
is a high traffic location. That's probably one of the most heavily trafficked locations in the county.
That's correct. We feel like the traffic count's very high there, and we feel like very fortunate that we're able to tie up that piece of property and look forward to breaking ground.
Oh yeah, and that's not far from home as well.
That's right.
That'll be great for you. I don't know about the rest of the folks in the bank, but not far from your home.
That's right. And a lot of people have asked if I'm going to relocate there. I said maybe on Friday afternoons or sometime when the traffic's really bad, but I'll still come to Myrtle Beach. But it will be very convenient to be able to go in if needed, and we're really excited about the location. And we'll also have a full-service modular there, hopefully opening around the 1st of October.
Right.
And that way we'll be able to service our customers while we're building our building.
That's wonderful. And of course, where are you all now, Scott?
We're on the corner of Grissom and 21st Avenue in the Syntex building on the first floor, Suite 140. We have a full-service location. If you come in, it operates very similar to other banks, a full-service teller line, customer service, lenders, and so forth. Night drop. We do like a drive-through, which obviously being a suite in a larger building, we're not able to do that. But I tell our customers if they don't want to come in, just call and we'll come out to the car. Curbside service.
Listen to that. Great thinking.
While we're waiting.
Have you had to do that? Have you gone out there? Yeah, met them in the car.
We've had a couple kind of flirt around with it when it's raining, but we'll be glad to do it. And we also offer a full courier service, so we're couriering a lot of deposits, and that works out really well, particularly for locations in North Myrtle Beach, the northern part of Myrtle Beach, or Murrells Inlet.
Right. Banking is something you've been in a good while, Scott. I was fascinated to see 16 years. 16
years here. So the Grand Strand has been great to me. Banking has kind of always been in my blood through my family, and the Grand Strand has changed a lot in the past 16 years, but I've really enjoyed being in this market.
So the Grand Strand is actually where you started your career 16 years ago. I mean, you've been here your entire banking career.
That's correct, other than 1 year.
Right,
1 year. I spent a year in Columbia under a training program with Wachovia Bank when I graduated from University of South Carolina.
Right.
And my first assignment, they transferred me to Myrtle Beach.
I was fascinated to see at one point you were serving a very large territory with 245 folks as the region president for another bank.
That's correct. We serviced the area from Wilmington actually to Hilton Head, which was a large territory. But, Wilmington, Myrtle Beach, Charleston, and Hilton Head have a lot of common characteristics with tourism and other things that drive the economy. So even though they're very different markets in a lot of ways, they're similar in a lot of ways. So that was kind of how my previous company would strategically align us and work well. Gave me a lot of exposure, met a lot of great people, and it was never a dull moment with 23 branches and
23 branches,
240-something employees.
That is amazing, Scott. Well, of course, that helps set the stage for what you all have jumped into at this point, and of course kicked off in November of last year. Share with viewers what prompted you, and then maybe tell us a little bit about some of the other key folks involved in organizing South Atlantic Bank. What prompted you all to launch it in the Myrtle Beach area last year?
Well, it's always been a dream of mine. It was a personal goal to go out and start a bank and be president of a bank. And then also Wayne Wicker, who is our CEO, and Dick Birch, who is our CFO. We all had a common thread. We worked together at Anchor Bank in the mid to late 90s.
Oh, great.
And so we, all had kind of, at least Wayne and I definitely had spoken and had some common vision of what we wanted to do. And found out later that Dick had an interest as well, and so the three of us began some conversation. And really, what prompted the initial spark, other than the common goal that we wanted to do it at some time, is that basically we had two large community banks that were headquartered in Myrtle Beach, with Anchor Bank and Coastal Federal. And since 2000, those banks have been acquired by larger regional banks. And we really felt like that there was an opportunity, there was a niche in the market to have a true larger community bank with multiple branches from Georgetown to Little River in this market that really could hire the right talent and the expertise that really understands the market.
Sure.
And so we felt like the timing was right, and we had three people that were very qualified and interested to do it. And then we also had 9 other organizers that were very interested, and we felt like we had the right mix. So, when you're forming a bank, I think a lot of things have to line up. I think the first thing you have to have an honest assessment. Does the market really need another bank? And if you are going to have another bank, how are you going to set yourself apart? Are you going to be able to hire the right level of talent to service the customer base that you're trying to attract? And also, are you going to be able to have very strong support from your organizers and your shareholders? And so when we initially formed, we had a lot of momentum. We definitely felt like we had the right 3 people with Dick being our CFO, myself, and Wayne. And then also we had 9 other organizers that were very enthusiastic, have offered us tremendous support, and also very well known in the community.
And some of those 9 had previous bank board experience, which is probably an important prerequisite.
And 4 or 5, their fathers or they had a relative that was on the Anchor Bank board at one time. So that's really the common thread in our organization.
The Anchor Bank connection, which is fantastic. And of course, all 3 of you all having had that. But even since then, the experiences here in the market, you all have remained in banking here in the market. So finding the inner workings of the marketplace was pretty dang easy.
That's correct.
For the 3 of you all and for the entire group of 12.
And I think the other thing, we were all 3 doing very different roles. Dick was a CFO at Beach First, and Wayne was working with Nexty in the correspondent area, and I was managing branches for Carolina First. And so we were all able to bring a different field of expertise into the style, and also a different customer base. Wayne spent a lot of his career in Myrtle Beach and in the north area. I'd spent a lot of my career in Myrtle Beach and in the south area. And Dick had a different customer base with the CFO and some of the people that he has dealt with in the past. So we were all able to bring a different level or a different bucket of customers to the table, which has really been great.
Very important, Scott. Even though this big branch that you'll begin the kickoff of the construction next month down there in Murrells Inlet will be that that big a facility, Myrtle Beach will still be the base. Is that correct?
That's correct. Myrtle Beach will be our headquarters. We basically have a contract on 3 pieces of property. The Murrells Inlet piece has just moved along a little quicker than the Myrtle Beach piece. So we feel like we're about 45 to 60 days from announcing exactly what we're going to do in Myrtle Beach. Myrtle Beach will definitely be our headquarters. We'll have a substantial facility, in the heart of Myrtle Beach, and we're very excited about that. The Murrells Inlet piece, as I said, just moving along is a little bit faster than the other 2.
That is wonderful. Well, of course, just the timeline for viewers who may not be familiar with how something like that rolls out. Of course, for y'all to actually open in November of 2007 it had to kick off a good while before that. And then how did, I think you shared with us earlier this morning, 291 shareholders.
Sure.
How did all those folks get together with the 12 of y'all to make it happen so that you could open the doors there on 21st Avenue in November?
Sure. We were very fortunate. As I said earlier, I think a lot of things have to line up in a perfect alignment for you to form a bank. And
right.
we felt like we had the right management team. We
right.
had the right organizers. And the next piece is to go out and see if the community feels like
right.
you have the right management team and organizers, which is much more important.
Sure.
And we were able to. We started really forming the bank and filing our application in May of '07.
Okay, wow.
So we hit the ground running with selling our stock. We had a particular market plan and focus of what we really wanted to do and,
right.
and what we wanted to accomplish, and that basically consisted of we wanted to sell as much of the stock as we could.
Right.
We wanted our average ticket to be a fairly high level, and we
Sure.
wanted to keep the shareholders below 500.
Right.
And we felt like by doing that, if we were able to do that, that we would be able to sell our stock in the local community.
Right.
We would be able to create some more awareness with what we're trying to do.
Oh, yeah.
And then also, if by your shareholder having a little higher average ticket as far
right.
as dollars invested into your company, the likelihood of them coming to do some business with you is a lot higher
yeah.
than if they have a small investment.
Sure.
So that was kind of our initial market plan. It worked well. We have 291 shareholders.
Right.
We sold our stock in 78 days, which is
wow.
Is
that a record for South Carolina?
I don't know. It's
yeah.
We were very fortunate. I
Sure.
think the timing was perfect for us.
Right.
People were very interested and curious in what we were doing.
Right.
And we raised a little $27.5 million.
Is that
capital.
right?
So,
wow, Scott, $27.5 million.
And really, we that's a little more than we needed to raise in order to
right.
form the bank. But we wanted to raise that amount of money for a couple reasons. Number one, we felt like in order to create a presence and to be able to begin to be competitive in the market, we needed to have 3 locations, and
right.
we needed to have a location. We kind of use the term as bookends. We needed to have a bookend somewhere on the south end of the beach, which we
Sure.
chose Murrells Inlet.
Right.
We needed to have a bookend on the north end of the beach, and we have a site there that we have a contract on, and then we needed to be able to build our headquarters in the heart of Myrtle Beach.
Right.
And that was all part of our 3-year plan,
Sure.
which was a little aggressive of what we wanted to do, so we wanted to raise enough capital, and we felt like at that level,
right.
the $27 to $28 million level, we basically could grow our bank to be a $350 million bank, and that would support those 3 offices.
Absolutely, and that's the goal. How are you all moving towards on that goal now as it relates to the $350 million? I mean,
Sure.
Surely it takes some time to make that
That's
happen,
correct.
but even putting those dollars, the dollars raised, the $27.5 million, in addition to putting them into capital or physical structures, you've got to move that money out into the marketplace.
Sure. And we've been very fortunate there as well. We're well ahead of our plan. We're about $82 million in assets
right.
under our first 8 months.
Right.
We've been able to attract a lot of customers due to 2 things: a couple changes and some other things that are going on in the community.
Right.
But the other part of our plan is we really wanted to hire what we felt were the best and brightest people
right.
for the particular position that we wanted them to fill in our company. And we feel like our talent level, some of our bankers, our customer service reps, our back room, our teller line, all of the employees that are working within our organization, to us,
right.
were our number 1 choice of what
yeah.
we wanted. And so, we feel that creates kind of a snowball. You hire excellent talent, you start to build your branches and have great locations. You have to be convenient for your customers.
Sure.
That will attract customers.
Yes.
That will build your customer base, because all banks have very similar products. Our philosophy is, and as you've seen in our ads and some of the things that we've run in the Herald and in other places, it's the people that make the difference, or people you know and trust.
Oh, yes.
And
we love very creative marketing there, not only in our paper, many papers in the area. Print's a great vehicle to really reach into the community, as is obviously broadcast television or radio, but surely you all have hit the nail between the head there. I mean, really made it happen.
So we're a firm believer. You know, we can't be successful unless we have employees that are very motivated, and we do the right things to make them successful.
Right.
You know, Wayne Wicker or Scott Plyler or Dick Birch can't carry the bank. It's really the people, and they're doing a phenomenal job. And really, our excellent results are a prime example of we have the right people. We have the right people in place, and they're doing a phenomenal job.
Well, we were thrilled to see one of our columnists, Mary Jo Rogers, had joined pretty early on.
That's correct.
And seeing some of the litany of other folks pictured in some of the ads, a lot of folks joining in the last, literally, as you say, since y'all opened 8 months ago, folks have been joining on a pretty consistent basis there, and y'all have taken pulled no punches, and
Sure.
obviously highlighting that to the community, and done a great job of that.
We're very fortunate to have Mary Jo. She's very active and does a great job, as well as Doug Arsenault or Paul Peoples or Ann Cody or Fran Kopnicki, all the people that we've been able to bring on board. But you know, our strategy is if you have the right banker, have the right team, you know, we can build the resources around them.
Oh yeah.
You know, if you go and build a branch in one particular place, it's a lot harder to do well. You know, to build the branch and then find the people to staff it and bring the customers. We want to build our franchise around our people.
Excellent.
And so, you know, we're very committed to hiring the right people, and we're very committed to give them the resources and that they need to be successful.
Right. You as you mentioned earlier this morning, Scott, got in on creating the bank before some potential issues were erupting in the marketplace, people hearing a lot of things. You mentioned a great thing about the FDIC earlier this morning. Share with viewers about, is banking something, I mean, banks obviously work, but it's all about trust to a great degree. It really is all about trust. Should the marketplace be trusted? I mean, should they be wrapping around banks at this point right now, and are there any concerns that folks should have?
Sure. Well, my personal opinion is that our banking system in the United States is one of the best in the world. It's very safe and sound. It's a very regulated business. We're under very strict criteria from a capital standpoint to how we open accounts, how we give disclosures to consumers. It is probably one of the most regulated lines of business of anything that I know.
Right.
Some of the noise in the market are particular banks or subsidiaries of other holding companies that were really heavily in the mortgage and particularly in the subprime mortgage lending area, which has very much been affected with real estate home sales, the slump in overall market values, and a lot of other things that have caused a few banks to fail and a few things to happen, which has brought more awareness to the FDIC overall insurance requirement of $100,000 per borrower. And so that's where a lot of that has you know, come up in the market. I think our overall community banks and larger regional banks and national banks that are in our market and in the state of South Carolina, for that fact, are very safe and sound. And you know, one thing that I discussed earlier, in the 75-year history of the FDIC since the Great Depression, there's not been any customer that has lost any money from their $100,000 deposit. And there actually has not been anyone that's lost any money in excess of that, because normally what will happen is, if to use IndyMac or some of these other banks as an example, if there is exposure there that the FDIC is not going to cover, all the banks in different communities are competing heavily for deposits, and we all want deposits. So a lot of cases, the excess will go out to see if another bank wants to service that or have that customer, and in most cases they do. And they take those deposits in. And
that's a great point. Probably something that a lot of folks hadn't thought about.
That's right.
Surely that is how banks operate.
So you hear all the negative pieces, and you see the long lines, and you see a lot of the other things that are going on, and it is a very serious issue. But you don't hear the other sides as much. You know, the negative piece is what sells, and so you don't hear any of the other positive things, are really some of the historical data of what's happened in the past. So
viewers should not have concerns about community banks or even regional banks here in the Grand Strand or in the PD.
That's correct.
In our viewing area.
That's correct.
That's great. That's great. Well, of course, that point about the FDIC, and of course, obviously, that idea about folks, other banks in the community would love to get a hold of some of those deposits.
Sure.
But that is something that viewers can do. If they've got more than $100,000 at one bank, they can easily move those excess funds over to another bank, or they can set it up with a spouse and set up each of them at $100,000 possibly.
There's some other safety nets they can do. There's some other ways they can insure above $100,000 in a particular bank. It won't be through the FDIC, but there's some other insurance and things that banks can offer customers. So there's a lot of other things that are out there that you can do to help insure a larger portion of your deposit, or split certain things to get as much coverage as you possibly can.
What is the long-term plan for South Atlantic Bank? Obviously, you highlighted the 3-year plan and surely making sure you all have the 3 locations. I mean, ultimately, when someone forms a community bank, you highlighted the loss of Anchor Bank in the area, or when they were purchased by another bank, Coastal Federal Bank.
Sure.
Obviously, after 50-plus years, that's a big deal for Myrtle Beach. And you all being only the second bank based here in Myrtle Beach, second community bank actually based in Myrtle, a lot in communities up and down the Strand. But long term, as you think forward, I'm sure you all have planned things out.
Sure.
What should viewers be seeing of South Atlantic Bank?
We're very focused on that, and our long-term goal is we want to create presence and have a top market share position in the Grand Strand. And when I say the Grand Strand, that's really Georgetown to Little River.
Right.
Maybe as far inland as Conway, but that's really where we'll focus.
Right.
And you know, can we cover that? It could be 8 branches, it could be 10 branches, 12. Sure. I don't know the exact number.
Right.
But what we want to accomplish is we want to be #1 in market share in the Horry-Georgetown County area.
Wow.
And we feel like if we do that, we can create a $1 billion bank or so, a nice size of larger community bank.
Oh, yeah.
And if we want to go to other areas such as Brunswick County,
sure,
or Charleston, or there's so many other viable markets that we're very interested in, that will allow us to do that. But I think you'll see us focus heavily on Georgetown and Little River before we'll try to venture somewhere else.
Right. Horry and Georgetown are very valuable communities. I mean, there's a lot and truly a need there. You highlight the biggest share is being held by folks that are not based in Horry and Georgetown County.
That's correct.
The biggest share of the market.
That's correct.
Same thing up in the PD area. Even with some strong banks. Nick Scherfus, he was with us on Wednesday with First Reliance Bank, which has built a tremendous presence in the PD, and obviously done a lot of great things up there, and have even expanded down this way. Of course, we were focused on much of the community service that he's been doing personally, but still we're able to talk a little about that bank, and it's fascinating as you think about how you can grow very quickly in a community and move from 10th or 15th up to 3rd or 4th in a very rapid pace. So,
and this market's historically been a little different than Greenville, Charleston, or Columbia, where you do have the larger national banks. Have pretty much always been 1, 2, and in market share. Until recently, the 1, 2, 3 market share position were Coastal Federal, Anchor Bank, Conway National. Oh yeah. Which is a good thing for our community. So that shows that there is there is a lot of acceptance to, if you can get to that size of a larger community bank, that it has been accepted well in these 2 counties, and that's the niche that we're trying to achieve, and we're very focused on.
Obviously, you and Dick and Wayne, all the organizers, very active in a lot of great community service plans. You'll do a lot. The bank, it being so new, not yet at a point where it's begun to really make its face in charitable organizations, but that will be a big push, I suspect, for South Atlantic Bank going forward.
It sure will. We're all very heavily involved in particular things in the community on a personal level, and obviously as a startup company, we can't make some of the donations or the larger donations that we would like to do, but we will in the future, and we are making smaller contributions to a lot of different things that we know are great supporters and great things to do in our community, and we will continue to be very focused there.
That's tremendous. Scott, I'm sorry we've run out of time. Thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you, Greg. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Stay tuned to Scott Plyler, President of South Atlantic Bank, coming up next. That simple aspect, banks accept deposits. They make loans. they derive some profit in the little amount in between, but they do a lot more than that. They're making a difference every day. They're hiring folks. You heard Scott talk about all the folks that have been joining the bank. They then go out and move currency through the community. They enable the community to run. They're critical to the economy, whether it's South Atlantic Bank or some of the other amazing community banks in the area, regional banks in the area, national banks. Banks are constantly making a difference in the community. We almost couldn't operate without banks in the area. We probably couldn't operate without banks. They're making a difference every day, whether they're involved. We didn't even get to talk to Scott about the amazing organizations that he and his wife and his family are involved in, obviously making a difference, all the folks there at South Atlantic Bank every day. Scott, thanks so much for being with us this morning. Sorry we ran out of time.